This is Every Widow Thing.
This episode is brought to you in part by spiritpieces.com. Beautiful cremation jewelry and glass art pieces for people and pets. You can find their information on the Every Widow Thing Instagram highlight reel. Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about one of the posts that we made on our Instagram page. If you guys aren't following, please go to Instagram right now and follow Every Widow Thing for fun things like this. I posted a video a couple of weeks ago asking for opinions because I heard a story. This was not my story, although people thought that it was. I didn't give too many specifics. But anyway, the deal was this person is dating someone. He's a widower. He's dating someone, and that person was going to come and spend the weekend with him. And the woman requested that he move his wife's ashes out of the home before she came. And I was shocked by this request because, by the way, this person's had not put like the ashes in a prime location in the house. It wasn't like a shrine with pictures and candles and everything. This person had the ashes in a closet. And so I was really shocked by it. And so I put it out on Instagram, and man, did people comment.
396 comments on Instagram.
Wow.
It was crazy. And for the most part, the comments were as expected. Get rid of him, ditch that person.
Because they thought it was you.
Well, they thought it was me. And they were like, absolutely not. If they can't handle.
I thought it was you also.
Right.
And then I had to call and be like, what's up?
Oh, yes, exactly. That's right. You called me. You're like, do we need to have a talk? I was like, it is not me. That person would have been kicked to the curb for sure. But it was interesting because some of the comments really made me think differently, because immediately I was all mad about it and like, how dare she request such a ridiculous thing? But the more comments that came through, I started to realize there are a lot of different ways to think about this,
That's kind of the beauty of the process of throwing that out there.
Yeah, it gave me
You don't know what you're going to get back.
Right. I mean, really what it ended up doing for me was several people really wrote thoughtful comments saying, look, if this is obviously somebody that you care about, you've asked them to come and spend the weekend with you. Why don't you have a conversation with this person and find out why? Because I'm immediately like, well, they're jealous. And
of a dead person.
And that's ridiculous.
Of ashes.
Right. But it could have been something like maybe they, in their religious in their culture, they feel like somebody actually wrote, why are you keeping death in your home? And I was like, ooh, I hadn't thought of that.
Well, it could be also, too, people not everybody like me, I buried my husband in a grave, in a casket.
Yeah,
it wasn't even a thought about ashes. Not that there was anything wrong with it. It just didn't occur to me. Because the church was kind of leading me that way, and I just was kind of in the zone.
You
never thought
out of it. Yeah,
he was so young.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, and so I just did kind of what the preacher was like. Yes, this is what people at this church do, and I was like, okay. And I was going along with whatever they thought. But I imagine I kind of appreciate the thoughtful comments because I think we're all quick to react to a lot of things. I know I am. And the more I read those comments, the more I'm like, one person maybe they have a reason.
Which you commented back to them.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, why do you have his ashes in your house? Bury them or place them in a place of peace for you. But they're
Right. Maybe that was the place of peace. Maybe it was discussed. Now, maybe that was some people, that was their request. Keep me in an urn in your home. Or it's peaceful for all of us. I know I find peace in having him close by.
I have Frank here with me today.
You brought
I was about to say,
Frank
clearly Keira
in.
does. He's
Hi,
sitting between the
Frank.
two of
He
us.
goes everywhere with me.
There
But
are
you know what's cool about that? Based on what I know, because I never met him, he probably would want to go everywhere we would go because he's a lot of fun.
Well, we're going to get to that later because we're going to talk about some options with that. But no, actually, poor Frank has not been out of the house in almost 10 years. And he was like, I'm ready for a field trip.
I wish I'd brought
Take
Toby.
me the fuck out the house.
That's right. Get me out and show me around. And so, but you did have to, you had to clean him up a little bit, I heard.
I did. And we're going to get back to your Instagram post. But yes, I've had, Frank has been in the closet for 9.5 years.
He's finally come out of the closet. How
Coming out
many
of the
years later?
closet,
And he's just literally in, like, he's in your closet where you get dressed and stuff. So it's not like a closet that you close the door like a coat closet.
No, he's in my master closet, which became sort of a sanctuary for me when I wanted to grieve or talk to him because it's kind of a quiet, hidden part of my house. And I was always trying to sort of find some privacy and not, upset the kids. And, my parents lived with me for a year. So I was like, if I was grieving, I would go in there. Or if I was angry, I would go in there and yell at him. Or if I had to tell him something good, I still do this. I go in there and talk to him.
Yeah.
But I had not taken him down from the shelf in a while. There was this one time I remember very clearly when I was in that very deep, I was having just kind of one of those screaming, crying, collapsing,
deep grief
moments, which for me came, they show up when you're least expecting, but it must have been a few months after because I was in the hospital for a long time. Then I couldn't walk. And then I was upstairs. And I went into the closet and I was just sobbing uncontrollably. And I tried to get into the ashes. I remember I was in my head. I was like, I'm going to eat some of these ashes. I missed him that much.
Yeah.
People probably think that's gross. But I was kind of out of my mind and I was missing him so much. And I was going to try to eat some of the ashes.
Oh, man.
And I remember thinking this is crazy, but I still want to get in there.
But I'm going to eat these
And
ashes.
I had had multiple surgeries on my arms and on my hands. And I'm not blaming, it was partly my dexterity was off. I could not open the thing.
Let me look at it. What is it in? It's an urn, right?
I could. It's not an urn.
Have you still not opened it?
No, it's still, I admit I'm fully avoidant of certain painful things, but
Listen, if you want a taste of him now, I can get that.
Let's get in there. It is the same packaging that came from the funeral home, which I was not a part of, as y'all know, because I was in the hospital and his family took care of it. I thought about an urn. Somebody gave me a really pretty box at one point. But then I've heard these horror stories about, just this morning, I'm working out with a friend, and she's like, oh, yeah, my Uncle Jerry was on the shelf, and we were visiting my parents, and the boys were playing ball in the house, and there goes Uncle Jerry all over.
Oh, no, Jerry!
The doormat by the back door, and they're sweeping him up, and the boys are inhaling him, and they're dust bustering. And so,
oh my God.
I just think I've got dogs, I've had little kids. I just feel like he's been safer in the closet.
Right. But I'm curious because I feel like my husband is in a bag, it's a baggie.
It's a bag in the box.
I think there's a baggie in here.
There's a bag in the box in the velvet bag.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a box.
You didn't spend money on the
I'm
box?
gonna get this out. I'm going to get this out right now. I know we're not videoing. So
her husband would have been happy that she didn't spend money on the box.
Budgeter.
He was
He had a
guy.
box.
Lacey's just over there with your mouth.
We didn't either.
I don't even know what's going on over here.
She's opening it up.
I went to get, there's some kind of certificate. So this is funny. I went to get him off the shelf this morning and I'm grabbing him between the workout and coming here, and the velvet bag is covered in dust. And so I come downstairs, I'm in the front hall looking for one of those lint rollers, and my sweet cleaning lady is, kind of cleaning, and I'm in the front hall rolling the dust off of this velvet bag full of ashes. kind of absurd. But anyway, okay. So inside
The velvet bag.
the velvet bag is this little cremation services certificate.
Right.
It just says, I guess it just says, this is him, Frank Trenum Lyman III, July 7th, 2014. He has a crematory ID number 5021. And this is all the legalese. And then it's signed by the operator of cremation services.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very official.
Al, why is that getting to me so much?
You're
It
getting
just feels
teary.
very
That's very official.
anything in writing that's official makes it official.
Okay. So this is what I was trying to get into when I wanted to have my little
Yeah.
snack.
Let me see. Now I really wish I'd brought Toby so we could compare
And
our
look
boxes.
at this thing.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure you can pop this, but
Let me see. Let me see that.
With my broken hands, I couldn't figure it out.
Oh, wow.
What
and-
kind of box is it?
I don't know.
Mine's
It's
different.
fancy.
It's like this big black.
Y'all,
I think-
mine is literally a plastic bag. Remember, I told you the whole story.
I
It was
think
like a Saturday Night Live
I think
skit.
I spent the most on
It's a big
my
black.
box.
It's very heavy.
Yeah.
Super heavy.
Ash, there's a lot
That
of ashes.
doesn't even
People
look
don't realize.
wooden. It looks plastic.
It's plastic.
It's plastic. So I suspect, I'd have to get, which, I didn't get this far. Maybe a screwdriver or something.
Yeah,
to pop this
Listen,
out.
I think
And then
it's for the best that you were not
I
able
think it's for
to
the best that it didn't
ingest.
get
I
in
don't
there.
understand.
But I think that these people
Holly
are
wants to
I
hold
want
Frank.
to see it.
Holly
These
wants
people-
to hold
okay,
Frank.
I wanna
hold
touch
him.
it.
Okay, we're now passing him around.
We should have videotaped.
Really?
Show and tell, y'all. And
I don't know how you.
Let me see.
I was
Oh,
thinking I could call them. Oh, she's getting
It slides off.
she's getting in there.
I mean, do you want me to?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I just thought maybe there wasn't a baggie.
No, there's 100% a bag.
I mean, the truth is, nobody know. How do you know unless you've been through it or you're a cremation person?
I don't want to. I don't want to bust it open and him
Okay, well,
spill
let's-
out.
Right.
wanna
I
have
don't
a-
think we should.
Do you want to have a cuddle? Does
Let
she
me
want-
have a cuddle.
Okay.
Aw, Frank. Wow.
Frank's heavy.
You are
All right.
quite a large man. It's a pleasure to hold you,
Oh.
Frank.
I can only do this because I'm almost 10 years out.
Right.
For our listeners, none of this is
Well,
easy.
now I'm gonna bring Toby
Yeah,
and show
you know what?
him what box.
Holly, when you go home, video
Okay,
what
I
yours
will.
looks like, and I'll do the
Hold on.
same.
Well, Holly and I were going to get together with wine, maybe, and have a little,
Eat some of the ashes together.
not eating.
No,
but I
no.
recently had Frank's family, ask me for some. Well,
Oh.
I'm going to try and do something with them, not all of them, but some of them over the summer because it's the 10-year anniversary coming up of our accident in June. And so I'm going to talk to my kids about maybe taking some of him to New York,
Mm-hmm.
doing some sprinkling. And then I was having this conversation with my sister-in-law, Sarah, who's so sweet. And I can't believe we've never talked about this before. But I was like, hey, do you guys want some of this? And she was like, yeah, I think, my parents want
Right.
some. And I felt bad because it's not like I've been trying to keep him from them.
No,
I
and they
just-
didn't ask, so
Yeah.
don't feel bad.
It
Well, it's
never
kind
came
of a
up.
sensitive subject. I mean, I remember when my mother-in-law came over soon after, and she was like, "Where's Toby?" And I'm like, well, "He's on the side table next to my bed." And she just went in my bedroom and sat in there with his ashes. But I never asked her if she
so
wanted any.
You know what? I'm laughing because remember when we had Dana on here and she shared that her in-laws made a table with his golf pants and his golf shoes.
Oh, my
Oh,
God, that's right.
I
The
wonder-
golf pant table.
Yes.
With the shoes.
Yes.
And she walked in and saw the shoes and freaked out.
Yeah.
Walked into their
That-
house.
I would
they
think they
were
would
like-
put some ashes on that table or something.
Because wasn't the table like the shoe, like he was standing?
Yeah, it was as if it was
think it
from
was
the
his
table
legs.
stand down. It was his leg
creepy.
in his golf shoes, not his real legs, you guys.
Shout out to Dana for that little nugget.
That's funny.
I wonder what the
Story.
percentage is of people that do this versus burial.
I think that it's on the rise. I think more people are being cremated now. It's less expensive, and I don't know.
I don't know.
I
that
feel
would be
like
interesting
we're
to
running
find
out of places to bury people.
It is very expensive. The headstone is very expensive, thousands of dollars. And then the plot is expensive, especially in Austin, Texas. There's so little room at the one where everybody goes.
Right.
And I don't even remember where all of it is.
You never went
never go.
to, Do you wish you had ashes instead, Lacey?
No.
You don't feel the need to have a
that's
box.
why. It doesn't creep me out. It's just more, I feel like for me, I prefer to stay. No, it's not even foreign. Okay. It's just, I prefer to stay in the physical, like he's still here. Like I didn't like the burial thing either. I hate it too. Anything that reminds, he's under the ground.
Yeah, my brain would go crazy with that, I think.
It did. Every time it would rain, I would sob. Like I thought he's under the ground and it's raining and he's cold.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, I didn't like I don't like either alternative. So I just try to stay that he's with me and here.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the physical so that I don't get so sad all the time. Because it's easy, 12 and a half years out, I think some days, wow, I went a week without thinking much about him. Well, I thought about that more than before we were in our podcast.
Right.
And I thought that's pretty cool. I went a month. I went 6 months without thinking much. But now everything's coming to the forefront. I kept wondering why 12 and a half years later are things really feeling on the surface. Are y'all noticing that doing this podcast, you think more about all of it?
Yeah.
I haven't
definitely touched these ashes in 9 years. And here I am. It's like in the car with me, riding along. I'm like,
So Frank,
going to the podcast.
Look at Austin now. It's changed so much. What do you think?
I think it's a really difficult concept for everyone's brain to grasp between the spiritual and the physical, right? And some people may prefer to have the ashes as kind of like, we can sprinkle him in different places. Whereas once you pick a plot, that is, where they are, and it's hard to move people at that point.
Well, that's
it's a little
part
more mobile,
of it
I guess,
for me. And I don't know if you have this. Going back to the video on Instagram, somebody was, that same person, like, why don't you bury them, or why don't you, place them somewhere? And for me, I don't know where I'm going to be long term. Like, I don't feel like I'm in my forever home. I don't even know if I'm in my forever city. So I don't want to bury his ashes somewhere and then leave him. In my mind, I feel like at some point I will bury his ashes and probably the dog's, and just have like a bench in my backyard with something pretty there where I can go and sit, and just like a spiritual place, if that makes sense. But I don't have that now.
We only lived in Austin for 4 years when the accident happened, and neither of us were from here.
Right.
So it didn't make sense for me to have him here. I didn't know if we were staying here or not.
Well, and like Lacey, you never even go to the burial site.
I don't like any of it.
I remember being sort of judged by like not having a place, and your boys need a place to go to be with Toby. I'm like, they can be with Toby wherever they want.
Agreed.
We're being gross. Were they being?
That was gross.
And keep in mind, Oliver was from Germany, so therein lies a big thing for me. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Hey, you're in your grief. I mean, it was sudden death. I had less than 24 hours before I'm having to think at 38, where am I going to put him? I had to put both languages, which I had the wherewithal to put the tombstone in both languages, English and German. I had to help with that. I had to do a ceremony in English and German. I had a German singer. I mean, I was thinking, who gives a shit? I don't care where he is buried. I still don't care.
Well,
he's not there in my mind.
There. Right.
He is not there.
He's with us. Somebody told me early on in my grief, the soul is portable. So you don't need to, I just got chills. You don't need to worry about even my little thing about burying the ashes and then moving away. That's not him.
Nope.
He's with us as much as we want him to be with us. It doesn't matter where we go.
And
Frank was riding in the car with you with his ashes and with his spirit. I have no doubt that Frank was sitting there on top of his ashes.
I hope that Frank is with us every time we're in a car.
Oh, no joke.
Me and the kids.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the Instagram thing. So it's interesting because these people cared a lot of these people care a lot.
Oh, they had the fact that, because I do comment on Instagram, but the fact that 3 weeks in, people are still commenting, even though they can see that everyone else has commented and they're probably not saying anything new. Read us a couple of
one.
the
This person felt very strongly. They said, "Scatter those things, hun. What are you hanging on to? Would you keep his embalmed corpse in the basement? Get some therapy."
Yes.
I mean, wow.
I think I made a little laughing face on that one. She was
Get some therapy.
She was thinking, yeah,
girl, we're way ahead of you. We've had lots of therapy.
Yeah, but she's thinking that the ashes are the same as having an embalmed corpse in my basement.
But also, if I had ashes, that's not hanging on to them.
No.
We're living with it. I think especially if we're laughing while we're holding old Frank over here, we clearly have moved through the grieving process. That doesn't mean that you don't have, I find that everything's kind of polarizing. Do you notice that on Instagram?
Sure.
Some people are just furious and some people can be more compassionate. It's one or the other. There's a middle ground there. There's
some funny ones. I love the one, "Run, Forrest, run."
Yes.
And then
that was it. That was the whole comment.
Run.
And then big fat nope in all caps.
One person also brought, and this is kind of more on my initial reaction, which was of anger, of how dare you? Why would you do this? But one person commented, have him sit down with your children and explain why the ashes are going to have to leave the house. And I was like, "Ooh, that's..."
Well, I think it touches a nerve probably because it's happened to them in some form.
Yeah.
In some form that this has become an issue. Like Keira didn't get the opportunity to decide if he was going to be in the ground or who's going to be ashes. I mean, it just got done for her. And she just had to accept what was done. My case, I was so out of it. I just did what the preacher told me to do. And at the end of the day, I didn't really care. But it is amazing to me that people care so much.
Yeah.
That's what blew my mind.
And people that probably haven't had to deal with it.
That's the thing.
That's what bothers me is you're commenting on things that you have don't know anything about. And the other thing that's interesting about the situation that you're talking about, Whitney, is okay, so now I am a grieving person. I've lost my spouse. I'm branching out to this new relationship. I'm trying really hard to open myself up to new love. And this person is asking me to remove my late spouse's ashes from the home. I mean, if I didn't have you guys, who am I going to call up and be like, "Hey, can I park my husband's ashes at your house for the weekend?"
Right.
Because my girlfriend's coming over.
But
my boyfriend's coming over. That's just more stress that you're adding.
I was going to say, "Hey, Brendan."
Onto another difficult, it's already a difficult situation. You're already trying to create a new life for yourself. And now you have to deal with that extra layer of well, where am I moving him out to the car every time my boyfriend comes over?
Right.
One of the comments was, "Put him in the car."
I mean, that's just a lot to ask someone that you're trying to build trust with.
And what does it... Okay, so I actually I'm dating someone. He was over last night. I was actually talking to him about it because I still have my husband's clothes in the closet. I would think that would bother somebody before the ashes, right?
I have a basket of dirty laundry.
Yeah, I know. But he said, "I'm not, I
do.
If I thought it was something that you were obsessing about and he was like, "It doesn't bother me. I'm not jealous, and you don't make me feel like you're comparing me or any of those things. So I don't have a problem with it." But he did say, which I thought was interesting. He was like, "But if we ever moved into a home together, I would want to have some conversation about where he would go." And I was like, "Oh,
that's valid."
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Brendan and I are combining households, and we're looking at redoing the master closet, doing a makeover and kind of making it more organized. And so Frank will need to find a new home probably, but that hasn't come up for us. Well, where's he going?
Right.
And then back to the whole, if he's sitting on a shelf somewhere. What if something happens? Now he's in this box that I can't even open.
I don't think anything's going to happen.
He's not getting out of that box.
Yeah, I think you're safe.
I have another friend who I want to have on, a widow that I've met recently, and she was saying that her house flooded while she was at work. Like the washing machine flooded the house, and the neighbors came over and we're running through the house trying to save things from the water and everything. And she comes home from work, and one of the neighbors like has her husband.
It's like, we got him.
And it's like, is this, does this go in the dumpster or is this
She's like, no,
keep or throw away?
Oh,
she's
my
like,
God.
I'll take that.
How much water was coming? I mean, my husband's ashes are up high on a shelf. It's not like they would be.
I don't know. We'll have to have her on to
That's
tell the
so
whole story. I don't know. I guess I was paranoid about things like that occurring. But yeah, no, we're going to redo this closet and I will have to rehome him.
Yeah.
But he's staying in the home. He's not going.
And Brendan has it ever even come up?
Has it ever come up? It came up. We have had a lot of in and out of Frank's things. One dear friend kept a lot of his clothes in a storage facility that she recently was shutting down. And so he went with me to collect those things. And then some of it is I'm just waiting for my son to come back from college and kind of go through and decide, what are we going to keep and what are we going to donate. But there's already clothes around. I mean, the girls, they wear T-shirts. We have the dirty laundry in the closet also. I'm not really sure what to do with that.
Like, what did Brendan say about that?
To his credit,
sorry, I'm laughing.
He didn't say much.
It's kind of
He hasn't put his foot down in any way, which is really sweet. He hasn't said anything.
I mean, but obviously the first time he went in your closet, was he like, what's that?
It's kind of up on a shelf, which is where the ashes were. Yeah, I think he was just like, okay.
I think part of it after a while, like,
you gonna wash
clothes, it's laziness kind of. It's like, I need to get this situated and, get rid of these things or put them somewhere. And then part of it for me is that, and we've talked about this, the kids come in and, I mean, they're getting to an age where they're like, hey, do you have, does dad have any nice button-down shirts, or what about a tie, or even a heavy coat. My son was going to go to a formal dance in college, like in January, and he was home for the holidays, and I was like, here's a nice coat that was your dad's, that you can wear with something nice. But
I think there's a fear for me behind giving, and I'm sure we all have this, giving something away or getting rid of something that might have been meaningful.
Yeah, like dirty laundry.
Well, also one therapist, I think I've said this before, one of the therapists I went to see, not the first, the original was awesome. Several years in, I went to see somebody when I was dating somebody. It was the person that he recommended. And she hated the idea that I kept his clothes. Hated it. She thought it was terrible. And I said, well, I'm not in there sniffing them every day. They're in the attic and they're all labeled. And the good news is that now Ryder is in London at school, and it's much colder there than it is in Texas. He took all of Oliver's sweaters, which were, because he was from Hamburg, so he had tons of sweaters and coats and all of his Hugo Boss pants, which I laughed. I would never buy that expensive of pants for my son to wear just for kicking around.
Right.
I mean, my husband did. So he's wearing all these really nice clothes, and why not? And he's loving it.
I put Toby's clothes into the boys' closets, and some of them don't fit anymore. And I also, after I took the things that I really liked, I had Toby's best friends that would fit in his clothes. They came over and picked out some shirts they wanted, and it's really sweet because I've seen them since then, and they're like, I have on Toby's shirt, which I obviously recognize it, but they're so
that is
proud to have it on.
I love that.
And Gabe and Zach wear like all his T-shirts and stuff.
And that's what he would want.
Yeah.
Someone said to me one time, and I thought this was really funny, Brother Rogers, I'm going to give you credit for this. He said white people bury the dead so quickly. And I got tickled because it is kind of true. It's like we had to wait 2 weeks because one of our relatives didn't have their passport was expired. So they had to like expedite it, whatever, get over. So it took us 2 weeks to get it all together for the funeral and all that. But he said, it's so true. We're in such a hurry to get rid of the ashes, like people wanting us to get rid of the ashes or do something with their clothes or someone like, I'm not kidding you. Within 6 months, someone wanted me to take off my ring. And I was like,
that's
no.
none of your damn business.
No, I'm going to do it when I feel like it.
Yeah,
nothing
don't
you
tell
say
anyone.
is going to change my mind about
Don't be gross.
anything. We didn't have time to plan.
Choice. I mean, we all decide when we want to take our ring off and when we want to clean their closet out, and no judgment.
Right. And when
this way or that way.
If you want to eat some of your loved one's ashes, no judgment. Just maybe don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
So yet I just told everyone.
But guess what? That's not really that unusual, because I actually, a couple of years ago, this was in my stand-up, when I did the whole death stand-up, I saw that show, Strange Addictions, and there was a woman on there, and she would take her loved one's ashes around everywhere with her, like you're doing with Frank today.
Just today.
And she would sprinkle
today.
him on her food. She would eat him.
Oh.
And
okay.
I was like, that is bizarre.
That urge has passed for me.
But even J.J. Elliott, the book, there are no rules for this. The girls all put some of their friends' ashes in the wine glass and drank it. So it's not as weird as you may think.
Well, it kind of goes down to everything, like from dating. Like we can have our thoughts on it, but to judge somebody when they're in their deep grief is cruel.
Yeah.
Well, one person, maybe you have this comment written down, Holly, but I remember one person saying, why does he even know that you have the ashes? Why are you even talking about it? And what people don't realize is it's not like I sat my boyfriend down and said, now I'm going to talk to you about these ashes and here. It's just when you're meeting someone, and it doesn't even have to be a partner, just when you're having conversations with people about your dead husband, it does come up. Was he buried? Where's he buried? Or do you have his ashes? Or, it just comes up. It's not like I made a point.
Actually, I don't know that anybody's ever asked me where he was buried.
Where's he buried, Lacey?
She doesn't know.
I dated someone 2 years and
they never asked?
I don't even know that he did.
Oh,
That's so
interesting.
funny. And we drive by the cemetery when my son was back when he was in middle school and high school. We drove by it every day, and sometimes we got to the point where Ryder and I would laugh. We'd be like, "What's up, Dad?" and then keep going.
Right.
But
that's cute.
I don't know that at first it was horrible. I remember going by the first year when he was in 6th grade, just going, and it had been 6 years by then.
It's weird.
But it was weird because we were going by every day, and I'd go by and just be like that, crossing my eyes, looking at it, and just not saying anything to Ryder because he was still in the back seat.
Right.
And then as time went on, we got to where we could laugh about it. Like, wonder what he's up to over there with all those dead. I guess they're just dying to get in. We used to just make jokes.
Yeah, make
like
all the
these
jokes.
stupid jokes, and they're just dying laughing over there at us. And his dark humor.
What's the alternative, really? I mean, it is funny in a way. It's surreal. It seems ridiculous. You can cry about it or you can make a funny joke.
You know what's kind of cool is the evolution of it. I remember before the headstone was put in, because this is very different from y'all's situation. I remember it being raining and it was horrible. I was like, okay, now it's depressing. It's raining and I can't find the plot because there's no headstone. I still don't even know if I could because I'd never go.
Right.
I think we need to all four go.
Yeah, it would be really
gonna
interesting. If I can find it, because all the markers were gone.
We could sprinkle some some of our ashes on
we
there.
Can
They
put
can all have a party.
Do you want to be
So
cremated?
I don't know. I don't know what I want. I just want to die and don't care.
Well,
Whatever Ryder wants to do with me.
I want to be cremated.
I don't care.
Right.
It makes no difference to me because I'm
Right.
dead. But we were going there and Ryder created this little tombstone out of paper. He drew a tombstone on paper. So keep in mind, he's 6 years old.
Right.
So he draws a little tombstone and he puts it in the place and Oliver's picture was there. And I remember looking at all the the flowers were dead, and I took a picture of it. Occasionally it'll come up as a memory.
Oh yeah,
and it's gross. And then flash forward years later, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, probably about 8th grade. Then we were going by laughing, and I thought, wow, look how far we've come from I hated going there to riding by and joking about it, and now just don't think about it almost ever because he's not there.
No, they're not there. They're portable. They're hanging out with us, or they're taking care of business up there. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Come back for part 2 of Ashes, We All Hold Frank, where we continue the conversation and give you all kinds of ideas of things you can do with your loved one's ashes. Are you enjoying the Every Widow Thing episodes? Do us a favor. Go on over to wherever you get your podcasts and actually follow the show. And if there's an option for rate or review, please do that. We'd really appreciate it.